Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv. Another week begins of the total chaos that is what's going on. So let's wait till January 20th so we can turn the page and see what happens.
Can only get better.
Yeah, and that's the key. But the dysfunctional idiots on the other one, some of them are actually admitting that they screwed up. They didn't listen to the people. They didn't, their message was wrong. They're screwed up and they got to refocus. People are getting pissed off at Nancy Pelosi now because she's intractable. But of course, in states like Massachusetts, where you have Maura Healey still grabbing onto the woke agenda, they don't realize the country's rejected the agenda and the people. And, they're getting desperate, dysfunctional. They're coming up with these ridiculous, scenarios. And I know the focus now is on his cabinet appointments. But actually, I went to the MMA fights. We went up to Wild Wings to watch the MMA card. Bunch of guys, and it was amazing because Trump showed up with virtually half his cabinet. He showed up with the Speaker of the House, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy, and the crowd went bananas. They're happy, and they were on the corner at Somerset Saturday. I was going up to Warren to have lunch, and there were a whole bunch of them waving flags and everything else. But look at he's brought most of the country together, except for the lunatics that just they can't take defeat. That was the one good thing about the MMA card. You see there, when you lose, you lost. You have to accept it, whether you like it or not. Even if you got screwed on a decision, you watch competitive sports all the time. You learn that. Accepting defeat is part of it, but he's, for the first time, Biden said he was going to join the country, and all he did was divide it by calling everybody a radical fascist. But now we had the greatest cross section of people voting for him. So but they're nuts. They're talking about, they're not being qualified. I think. My memory serves me, if my memory serves me correctly, and I got a pretty good memory. I think Obama's Secretary of Defense had a degree in physics or something like that. Totally unrelated to anything with the Defense Department. Had no real credibility as a military individual. But they're going to complain about a guy with 2 Bronze Stars, served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and is fundamentally a career National Guard military officer. So these people are nuts. These are the same people that, remember what Obama had. He had a guy that wore a dress, had a mustache, and stole women's clothing in airports. He had a press secretary who can't answer a question unless she reads it from a binder, and they even gave it a nickname, Binder. And she was only appointed because she was the first, whatever. She had a whole bunch of different things she was the first of. But that's how they elected it. And they want to call people dysfunctional. His cabinet is a complete clown show. Blinken was a failure under the Obama administration at a subordinate position that he was given in the cabinet. These people were all appointed because they set into some kind of group. And it was about labels. They all had a label, and they were the first. They didn't talk about their qualifications, and nobody did because, of course, the mainstream media suppresses stuff like that. Because, CJ, mute me. This is from Boston. I got to take this call. Okay?
You're muted. It's very interesting when you watch this because people don't realize the intense thought process that goes into the selection of a cabinet. And while you may not agree with some of these appointments, they are the president's appointments. And now it's left to the Senate to advise and consent. Doesn't mean that they're all going to get approved. And that's why President-elect Trump is looking at having these people approved during the recess, because the president can call a recess of the Congress and the Senate when they cannot agree. And that will be a forced 10-day recess. And that's his right under the Constitution. But I don't think that that's going to be a smart idea. Personally, I think there'll be problems with doing that. And I think that they will have to look at what they need to accomplish and get accomplished. So, and yes, for those people watching, I've got a lot of comments, a couple of comments on YouTube about the fact that we're not getting a lot of comments on Facebook, and there must be a glitch in the Facebook system. There is a glitch in the Facebook system. It happened last Friday for the first time with us. For some reason, we scheduled the shows, and they are scheduled fine, and they happen fine, and they broadcast fine. The problem is that they don't give people a notification in their timelines just before we broadcast and when we schedule. So it's a scheduling issue, and we're trying to fix it, and hopefully it'll get fixed shortly. We had a couple of Facebook issues recently, and I'm not sure if it's our format or our platform that we're using, and we have to decide whether or not to stay with this platform or move to another platform. I really would rather have it so that you can stay with this platform and you can stay going to Facebook and YouTube the way you've been doing. And I'm grateful that you keep trying to find a way to find us. We are there. Our viewership has gone down a little bit since Friday, but believe me, we're still here and we're still fighting and we're still arguing for you. And that's just the way it works. Hey, did you look at today's Herald News? I did. Against my better judgment. They wrote an article about the divorce school. Number one, the reporter couldn't get the address right. It's not 112 Pleasant Street. It's 112 Flint Street. Number two, they quoted Carlos Caesar verbatim. And as many people know about Carlos, he has a broken English type of speech format because English isn't his first language. And they made sure they put that in there. And it makes him look like a fool. Now, we listened to Seth Aikens, and we read what he said. We listened to Carlos, and we listened to what he said. And me knowing what's going on with this and what was going on with it, I'll tell you now. Carlos got an offer to have that school building bought. He as soon as the city found out about the offer to buy the building, the city placed a restriction on the deed so that he couldn't sell the building. And former mayor Sam Sutter was supposed to represent Carlos Caesar and the Flint Neighborhood Association, and he stopped representing them without even telling them that he wasn't representing them anymore. So Carlos was left swinging in the breeze, which isn't a good thing. Carlos signed the building over to the city, and I told him I wouldn't have done that. I would have made the city take it to court and argue it out in court, because the reverter clause they keep speaking about was not written into the deed. Hey, Paul, listen to this. Tell your legal people about this. The reverter clause must be written into the deed, not the purchase and sales agreement. Once the building is closed upon, the deed is what prevails. The purchase and sales agreement is done. Not my fault your department isn't bright enough to get this in their eyes, okay? And I'm not sure who the lawyer was that wrote it. I'm not sure who the people are that decided to enforce it, but guess what? Not right. And the fact that you stole, Paul, and yes, Paul, you stole from the Flint Neighborhood Association over $10, $15, or $20,000 that was used for asbestos removal. You stole that money from them, money they could use. Just shows you what type of person you are. You displaced a nonprofit that fed the people of Fall River. Oh, wait a minute, you don't want them here. They even spoke about at the city council meeting about affordable housing. And your city administrator made it clear, no, we want to bring people in who have more disposable income. They got more disposable income, but they're not spending it here because there's nothing to spend it on. You need to wake up and smell the coffee. I'm not sure why the reporter from the Herald News wrote the article the way she did, but maybe she wanted to stick to, true to the fact. This building was not a problem for anyone else in the city except for Paul. This building was not a problem for anyone else in the city, again, except for Paul. And yes, Carlos and the Flint Neighborhood Association was charging neighborhood people to park in the yard, because that money raised on parking in the yard was used to pay the illicit and illegal, in my opinion, rainwater tax that this city keeps charging us. And because that is not a residential building, he had to pay by the square foot. And at one point, I don't know how much he owed. I don't know if it was $10,000 or $15,000, and he had to pay all that money back. All of that money. Hey, Paul, all of these buildings that you've made market rate housing, are they paying the commercial rate, or because they're housing, they're paying the residential rate? Good question to ask. Good question to ask. Because I think that these buildings that are market rate need to stop paying a commercial rate on their rainwater tax. It's important. It's very important. So
I'm back.
I can tell.
I apologize to our viewers, but that was a call from Boston I had to take, so it is what it is. He's Robin Hood in reverse. He steals from the poor and gives to the rich. You're right, Linda. That's what he does. But that I know that you're everybody should read, if you haven't read CJ's column again. The weekend.
That was a big one this weekend.
It's
that
the
was
War
a
and Peace version. I know it's the War and Peace version, but it's got a lot of good content in it. So, this is the thing. It's all about, with us, it's all about information, and it's all about putting out some ideas. We're not gonna whine and cry about this dysfunctional crybabies and everything else. It's like, okay, you win we had to put up with 4 years of Biden. People who didn't like the Biden administration, we have to put up with it. We'll fight, we'll rage, but we will be specific about, Do you know I was talking to someone who recently went out to Iowa because they went to college out there? And do you know that in the Quad Cities area, which is a very, very, large area, it's actually Davenport, Iowa, Rock Island, and it's also There's two over the bridge. It's right on the Illinois border. And bullshit. That's them again. I'm not going to answer this time. You know that there are actually apartments, 1-bedroom apartments in that area that, you know, they have a lot of colleges in that area. Actually, the largest chiropractic college in the world is out there. The guy who created the chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, the Palmer School of Chiropractic is out there. And they have a lot of colleges. There's 4 cities out there. And Moline, Rock Island, Davenport, and I forgot the other one already, the Rock Island Line, that movie, the song. But, you know, there are apartments out there. You ready for this one? Everybody fasten your seatbelts. $300 a month. Not a week. $300 a month. Houses out there are $250,000 to $280,000. Nice houses. So what they do what they do in these blue states to you, and these market rate criminals and their friends who make them rich, the Nancy Pelosi's and the rest of them of our time, this is what they're doing. I know. I went out there quite a few times. My son, actually, it was a friend of my son who told us this, because my son went out there to Palmer. He went out there for schooling, and I went out there numerous times, and I was amazed to see the houses out there in the Midwest, extremely cheap, rents extremely cheap, and it's a nice area. Not high crime or anything. It's pretty rural. Oh, Jesus, these people are driving me crazy here. I'm not doing it. Yeah, well, that's the problem with them. They're like little children. You know, they don't want to talk to you. Well, listen, I talk to people who like the Red Sox. I'm a Yankee fan, okay? I got a lot of friends that don't have the same baseball team, a football team, or political view. But they're not a-holes. I mean, these people are crazy. Yeah, you're right. He does deserve to be thrown. But these people are crazy. They're bitter. You know, they must not have a life. We are very involved in politics, obviously. Based on the fact that we've been doing a show for 14 years or 15 years. And we're engaged in it. And I've worked with Democratic people, Republican people, but the Pelosi's and the other ones, they're dysfunctional. They need psychiatrists. The family unit is supposed to be the most important unit in your life. Your family, your friends, your relatives. Over an election? There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. I mean, some of the venom that they spew, it's like, you know, they want these people, they want anybody that disagrees with them killed and everything else. It's like Trump was in for 4 years. The country was better. They're already saying the country's going to be destroyed when he gets in. Well, it was better than it was with Biden. We put up with 4 years of Biden. We put up with 4 years of a guy stealing women's clothes in an airport with a dress and a mustache. With yo-yos giving Iran the money to create a war in the Middle East. And fundamentally letting all kinds of criminals in our country. There's a trial currently going on about Laken Riley. They have the audio of her trying to call 911 while she was being bludgeoned to death by an illegal alien, and you can hear the rock smashing her skull. Her parents had to leave the courtroom. And the mainstream media is not even covering it. They're not even covering the trial. And the liberal prosecutor is not considering the death penalty for this piece of scum that destroyed a young nursing student's life, bludgeoned to the death, strangled her. You're right. All of you, Linda, you're all right. They don't want to come to your Thanksgiving dinner? Good. Good. I don't want those kind of people around. You condone this shit? You deserve. We deserve Hammurabi's code in this country. What they should do to him was what they did in Hammurabi's code. Your sentence was whatever you did. They should take him out, lay him on his back, smash him with rocks, smash his skull, strangle him, and then cut him up into pieces.
And feed him to the birds.
Right. You know, a while back, it was a long time
Although
ago,
the birds don't deserve that.
in one of the countries over there that believe in Sharia law, they had somebody that was a pedophile, and the sentence he got was that they executed the sentence because I think they said he had abused 100 children. So they tortured him, then they cut him up into 100 pieces, then they threw the 100 pieces in boiling oil.
French fried pedophile.
Not a lot of pedophilia over there anymore. It's like the countries that give you the death penalty for drug trafficking. But this is the thing. These people are, they're raging against us. Well, 3/4 of the country voted for Donald Trump. Get over it, live with it, or go or take a walk. You guys should have your own club. You go see if their leaders will let you into the club. All the people who are vilifying us that are regular people and believe Taylor Swift and shit, try to get on Taylor Swift's estate. Try to go have dinner with Nancy Pelosi. You know what she's going to tell you? Beat it, riffraff.
Isn't that
They're going to tell you the same thing that they told the illegals when they got the Martha's Vineyard with all the big signs saying, "We love illegals. We love migrants. Get out of here." You people are such losers. You can't figure out those people don't like you. They told you that when you wanted Bernie, you couldn't have Bernie. They were going to put Hillary in whether you liked it or not. They told you that they're going to get rid of Joe, even though 14 million of you voted for Joe. You still haven't figured that out. You think we're going to really worry about what you think or say? You're nuts. You're nuts.
What's interesting is I was watching one of the mainstream media yesterday, and a Democratic congressman turned around and said, the party doesn't know
That's right.
what happened, but they're sticking to their guns on what they've done, not realizing that it didn't work. They believe they lost the working class. It's not that they lost the working class. They threw the working class away.
Yeah, they abandoned them. That's right.
That's right. And this one congressman, Democratic congressman, had the foresight and the forthright belief and behavior to say, we screwed up. We screwed up.
Yeah.
And that's all that has to be known. We screwed up. Okay? Whether you like it or not, politics can be a dirty game. Not everyone's cut out for it. It can get ugly. And you saw that in this presidential election. It started to get ugly. I don't know who threw the first silo, but let me tell you something. It was not a fun time for anyone. And I thought that when Trump went to the Biden White House and sat down on the side of him last Wednesday, put his hand out, shook Joe Biden's hand, and said, "Politics is a dirty game.
Yeah.
It's just a dirty game."
Yeah.
And he's right. It is. You're right, Linda. They did throw the working class under the bus, promoting
Well,
their
and they
DEI
did,
local
and they
agenda.
did it. And you look at what they've, but some of them. The problem is the most vocal minority gets all the press because the mainstream media is still behind the wokies. But
Right.
a lot of people in the Democratic Party are realizing that, number one, they abandoned the working class and they've lost them. They, as Jeff said, they're going to let people in here, make people who work homeless. But even Seth Moulton, now they're attacking him because he said, "I don't want my two daughters playing against men in sports." They're beginning to walk away from the war. AOC dropped their pronouns. Every Democratic politician who doesn't live in a dysfunctional area of the country where they'll vote for you no matter how bad you screw over the regular people, they're panicking. They're beginning to change their attitude. AOC dropped their pronouns. Gone. But you're going to have the Tlaibs and the Ilhan Omars and the people in areas in California where the rich control everything. They're going to keep saying, "We're hanging on to this woke agenda. We got governors like Healy in a state that she thinks she's insulated from any blowback, including Auchincloss. He was on there again whining. And the biggest hypocrite, one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever seen. That's why he's attached at the hip with Coogan. Here's a guy that did nothing but piss and moan about January 6th, which was grossly overblown. Oh, it's the worst thing since, Pearl Harbor. They didn't even mention 9/11. It's like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. Yeah, what? A bunch of yo-yos walking around with horns on their head. The only person that got shot was an unarmed veteran female, while they were burning down cities all over the country and killing people. But they ignored that. And then this clown Auchincloss complains about January 6th, about them entering the sanctity of the building. Well, it's our building, idiot. We're the government. That's the people's house. Yeah, they entered illegally. They should have. There's a protocol to get in there, and they deserve to be prosecuted for trespassing, and the ones who caused damage should have been prosecuted for the damage. Well, not all of them did, but AOC dropped their pronouns on one of her feeds because it was all over the place. But he let a camera crew in from the mainstream media through the side door of Congress so they could go harass Republican Congress people. This is what you got for Democrats. They're all hypocrites. It is do as I say, not as I do. What is for thee is not for me. We have to live by different rules. See, they walk into the Capitol building, they get years in jail. Some BLM guy kills somebody. They burn down billions of dollars worth of property. They completely destroy cities. And you got some idiot from CNN standing in front of the entire city burning down behind him. And he said, "This is a mostly peaceful demonstration." Well, if Democrats stormed the Capitol building, and by the way, they did enter illegally, didn't they, CJ, and have a sit-in for Palestine?
Yes, they did.
Did any one of them go to jail? No. Did any one of them get prosecuted? No. No. They're freaking liars. They're freaking hypocrites. They don't live by the same rules they want us to live by. So if they don't come to your Thanksgiving dinner, good. Let them eat cake.
Okay, Marie Antoinette. Hey, let's get off the national stuff. Let's get on to some local stuff. I spoke about over the weekend. Collin Dias going to bat again for the people.
Yep.
He wants an audit. He wants an audit. He's asking for an audit. He wants the state auditor, not some auditor that's hired by Paul Coogan or the school department. He wants the state auditor to come in and do an audit on the school department books, the contracts, the overtime. He wants to know where the money's going. How much you want to make a bet? Paul doesn't allow it. It never comes up at the school committee meeting. And those other bobbleheads are going to turn around and say, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. It's going to be Kevin and Collin that are going to be out there standing alone asking for an audit, because these people don't want the truth. They want to live in the lie that you've elected them to represent. You elected them to represent the truth, but that's not what happens.
What you know what else he's doing? He's also looking into that video that was on, you said Florida Reporter, that we both got.
Yeah.
That altercation video.
Yeah.
And again, what are they doing in the school department? They're going to cover it up again. If that video wasn't released, nobody would know about it. They don't even discuss the fact that, and I think that whoever posted that video was anonymous, but they said that the entire city's in chaos. It is, because you got the same mayor covering up everything on the city side that happens in the school department that they've covered up forever. And they don't want anything, no. But Collin's going to look into that. He's, I sent them the video. He texted me back and said he was going to bring that up too, because he's going to question it. And as you said, kudos to Collin. He's doing his job. He's representing the people. How in the hell can you allow, there was a melee for, I don't know, not the first time, a melee again across the street in that CVS strip mall over there. They got with the CVS and the market and McDonald's, but there was another melee there. There was this other melee. I mean, that school is, and you were saying, CJ, I believe you articulated that they, to get into the football game, they had to go through metal detectors.
Yes, they did.
Get searched, get patted down, and everything else. But there's no problem for crime, Paulie, is there, in this city? No, there's no problem. Just keep it under the radar till what? Till somebody gets killed? How many brawls are you going to allow before you start demanding discipline in your schools to protect the students who want to get an education? Not learn on where to hide so they're not in the middle of some kind of altercation. We've got videos going back a couple of years.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, and as I said, people forgot about the opening of the school year, okay? When they had to put the police out on Ellsbury Street to redirect traffic and to stop parents from picking people up on private property. And these kids go over to that private property. They're not making any purchases. They're not supporting the businesses. They go over there to cause problems. They stand in front of the stores trying to intimidate people. And who's paying for the overtime? Who's paying for the police coverage?
Yeah.
The school department should be paying for that coverage. The school department should be paying for that coverage. I don't want to hear, oh, well, we got the school resource officers, juvenile division. They're school resource officers. There is no adult division to them.
Look, they should be prosecuted. We should have discipline in our schools. The first element in getting an education is having discipline. And, this is crazy because, listen, I was in Newport Creamery. We used to go there a lot when we,
When the
I was in
bacon was
Newport,
good.
I was in Newport Creamy one time when a couple of students went in there and they were giving one of the waitresses a lot of crap. And then they got up and they were basically asked to leave. And they actually challenged them to a fight, walked out and knocked over things all over the place, and destroyed property in a local restaurant. What was done? Nothing. The managers just said, "What am I going to do? There's nothing we can do about it." Well, there is something. We should have a police department. We should have a community that respects the law. And we got a clown that walked around Durfee high-fiving these thugs and hiding all this shit. Collin, I hope you make a real big issue out of this stuff, because we need to have a safe environment for the kids who do want to learn, and the teachers. Because if the teachers grabs one of these clowns by the neck, he's going to get jumped by 12 others, maybe get injured, or they're going to fire him for touching one of the little snowflakes.
Exactly. And, the sad part about it is that we've seen this happen. When we ignore it, it just comes back, and people forget that it happened before. And that's what's happening now. People are forgetting it happened before. The homecoming dance at White's of Westport had to have police from not only Fall River, but from Westport. Who's paying for those details? If I was holding a dance at White's, I'd have to pay for the detail. If I was having an event over at the Elks, I'd have to pay for the detail. So why can't they? Why can't they? The school department needs to pay for those details. Anonymous participant, and that's his name. That's not a mistake on the system. And I like that. I went to your Facebook page. It's very interesting. So I got to give you credit for that. And no, you're right. It is a perfect recipe for Jazel to come back. And I keep saying that if Jazel got out tomorrow and he ran next year, they'd elect him. But you brought up the fact that the K-9 unit has been cut from the City of Fall River Department. What's going to happen to those well-trained dogs? Cost thousands of dollars to train those dogs. Where are they going? To the pound? They're going to be given to the Bristol County Sheriff? He's got K-9 units.
Well, I really like to get an explanation from the new police chief. Why? Because virtually every city, I think, that I know of has K-9 units. They're very valuable assets in policing. And look, I will not claim. I'm not gonna challenge that thing. I'm asking a question, because I am not an expert in policing. That's not my area. You want to talk to me about fire department and fire department structures and stuff, but it seems to me that K-9 units are an extremely important part in certain scenarios of policing. And for a city that's got this many problems, to not have a K-9 unit, it is.
Isn't that taking us back in time?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we see K-9 units used in all the time.
In everything.
I mean, even when they got, remember when they got the Boston Marathon bomber? They had K-9 units when they had him surrounded.
Right.
Because, I mean, to me, it doesn't seem logical. Our city is not. Look, maybe if you told me you didn't need a K-9 unit in Wellesley that has, virtually if they have a shoplifting, it's a major crime in some of these cities. Look, there are communities that are very, very affluent, virtually 100% single family houses and their bedroom communities that may not need a K-9 unit. And they have very specific canines. They got dog sniffing, they got cadaver sniffing dogs. Dogs are a tremendous asset to anything. As a matter of fact, they have arson dogs. I worked with a few arson dogs. Those dogs can pick up concentrations of flammables that a lab can't pick up. That's how sensitive their noses are. Yeah, I don't know. Look, but you know, all our viewers, even maybe the anonymous, sometimes they worry about anonymity because sometimes it may be a Democrat hiding in sheep's clothing. I don't know. It could be a double agent. We don't know. But we'll look at the comments as they come in. But the fact is that you have no ability to know what's going on. See, this is the problem. It's like the Democrats on a national stage. They told you for 3.5 years until the election, and they said we have to do something about the border. The border is closed. The border is secure. The border is closed. The border is secure. Don't worry about it. Crime is down, even though they knew that the FBI admitted they manipulated the crime statistics. We're hiring more people than they always got adjusted the opposite way. They lied about it. They're pathological liars. They're pathological liars. Everything they say is for political reasons. It's not the truth. And what they do is they cover it up as much as they can. They're not covering the Lake and Riley trial. That heinous crime. Paul Coogan doesn't say, nothing ever comes out of that. It's worse than North Korea. North Korea is like free compared to Fall River under Coogan. Coogan's got everything locked down. Nobody gets any information anywhere anymore. We don't know. No matter what happens in the city, you got to read about it in some other source. Herald News doesn't write anything negative. They're all propaganda pieces. I mean, Fall River's a microcosm of the federal government under Biden. The mainstream media covered up for everything. Yeah, but remember, he was actually lucid until they saw him at the debate, and then they went into total panic because the country saw that. I mean, if you couldn't see that anyway, you were blind, but they covered it up. And there are Democrats to this day, going to your point, CJ, about them still trying to hang on to this dysfunctional, lunacy. There are a couple of them that still say he's lucid.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was at a meeting with him, he knew everything. Bullshit. We've got people that were there that said he didn't have any idea where he was half the time. But this is the problem. Without information, speaking of that, I heard from a reliable source. I didn't see it, but somebody said there was a report that we have Tren de Agua in Massachusetts already. That gang that's taken over Colorado and taken over buildings, that we have some elements of that already infiltrating Massachusetts. But you think Healy will protect them? Well, remember, we're not going to let we're going to fight them. We're not going to let them get rid of our illegals, even our illegal criminals. So who knows? We got Tren de Agua coming to Massachusetts, coming to a high rise near you. But I mean, we never know. There's no accuracy or even reporting of the real news anymore. It's horrifying, and yet people kept in the dark. Then you're surprised when the crime hits you. You'll be surprised. But remember what Paul said a long time ago already. What are you talking about? You think there's bullets in every place in the city? So you got bullet holes in your house. What's the big deal? Well, that's Paul's philosophy. until there's bullets in every house in Fall River, including his, but he'll never know because he only shows up there once in a while. Then they'll admit we've got crime. So what are you going to do? I'll tell you what you do. Do what we did with Trump. Vote him out. Get rid of him. And don't whine, all you whiners. It wasn't the Trumpers that won the election. It was the Hispanics, the blacks, the Jews, the Arabs, all groups that had never, ever voted for a Republican. He made inroads in every single one. They're the most diverse, the most representative of the melting pot that America is supposed to be, elected Donald Trump. Even some Democrats voted for him. Not the ones that are delusionary, but even some Democrats. But they had the numbers. They were covering them on in your own news media outlets. MSNBC, CNN, they were freaking out before the election. Oh, look at the inroads he's making with blacks. Let's get their vote by insulting them. Obama said, "What's the matter with you? You're a misogynist. It's not that you're sick and tired of the way they're running the country. No, they insulted him because that's what they do best. And now they're going to tell you can't go to Thanksgiving dinner. Well, you can shove the turkey."
Is it a butterball?
That's right. It's a butterball, yeah.
Well, this has been a fun show. Hey, for those of you that have not gotten your copy of Spindle City Straight Talk, The Weekend Flush, you can view it at scstonline.com. The homepage lists all the Weekend Flush. You can click on one and read it. You can also subscribe to it. It's a great little weekly newsletter. It has a lot of information in it, a lot of information packed in it. It's normally not as long as this weekend's was. This weekend's was 4 pages. I don't usually go that long, but we just had a lot of information that needed to be presented.
I'm glad you gave the reader's warning. This is not a 5-minute read. It's a longer read, but it's well worth it.
Exactly. And I think you'll enjoy it. You'll get some information. Please share it. Share this show with your friends on Facebook, YouTube, whatever it takes. Share it, because we can't always count on Facebook putting the schedule out there. And YouTube doesn't put the schedule out there for us. So make sure that you put the schedule out there for people. Always remember, you can go to the Spindle City Straight Talk page or the South Coast Media pages to watch this program on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.